I actually just pulled up something else to look at, but yeah,
All right, I
let's
hit the
do
live.
it.
I did hit the live. I did hit the live.
Okay,
Just to
good.
let
We're
you
good. Ain't nothing. I don't have nothing on here I wouldn't want to talk about. But I do have my game up at the same time. Like it's kind of lit. Talk and play.
That's perfect.
Yeah, man, that's what I
Okay, so
needed.
you need Twitter Premium to go live over there. So that's out.
You live on YouTube right now, though, right?
YouTube is live right now,
Yeah.
and I think Instagram too.
Well, what's up?
And then yours should be live too.
Yeah, let me look on my YouTube channel. I'm sure it is. We're gonna have to get it together though with the because them other folks, they.
Nah, we finna make this shit
Oh, we
pretty.
look good. We look good
Yeah,
on YouTube. Yeah, we look good. Hanging, having a friendly conversation
that's all it is, really.
about
Just a lovely little fun,
about how wild these people getting, bro.
fun Sunday. A little
Fun
grab your tea.
Sunday, get some tea. Just a nice, normal conversation about how gamers have absolutely lost their damn
Yeah,
minds.
just a little bit of KKK stuff. Nothing really
Bro,
too.
a modern day clan rally. Like that was
Just a little KKK thing kind of
Bro, it was
happening.
so wild to watch. It's the wildest thing
A little bit of white supremacy and Dragon Age.
I
Nothing
have
crazy.
ever seen on YouTube, period, bro. Like,
Yeah,
golly, man,
yeah.
that was crazy. It's
They
crazy.
went all the way in and they didn't care.
They didn't. They didn't. They didn't. They didn't. He kept saying he was going to stand up for himself and what he believed in. He would not be silenced.
And do you? We'll
He
we'll,
would
we'll
not.
get into it. We'll, like, do you think they believe that?
He would not be silenced. No, I don't think they believe it. I honestly, I don't think anybody could be like that. I think that they have found group of um a very specific group of people
Yeah,
who 100% are just straight up racist white supremacists. We're the
yeah.
superior master race people, like 100%. And I think that there is a core part of that audience that they are pandering to. But within that, I mean, outside of that, there are people who are, a little mistaken about like what DEI is and inclusion. That isn't to say there hasn't been some pretty like terrible
Exactly.
games that have
We
released.
all played Spider-Man and seen that ugly ass costume. We've
For
seen it.
sure, for sure. Like that isn't to say that there isn't some things that have come out that are frustrating, but the problem is not black people and gay people and trans people. The problem is capitalism. But like
Yeah.
nobody wants
And
to make that connection.
except they occasionally, for whatever reason, they do. They will
Every
say,
now and then.
I hate loot boxes. I hate
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
microtransactions, right? Then
Yeah,
they
yeah.
hate live service and DLC. And now they're
Right.
all up in arms, but all of a sudden they want to gather together to fight black people in a
Yeah.
game.
And
Like
and
what
trans people and just
in
any
a
group that
game.
isn't there. And it was just wild. Yeah. Do you think
Like
people know what we're talking about? Or maybe we should explain a little bit.
we're gonna dial it back. We're gonna dial it back. What's up, everybody? Welcome to YouTube. Hey, what's up, guys?
What's
Today
good?
let me try to put a title up. A title up would be nice. Anybody know how to do all that stuff?
See, and that's where they got us. Their production values are off the chain, bro.
They did
Like
the whole thing.
they had snacks, communion, they had commercial breaks.
No, they had sponsors. How they get sponsors? I don't know. They had the whole nine. Let me get that up. Yeah, we gonna have to
Harmonicas and everything.
100%. Let me make sure YouTube was good. Instagram was good. Let me make sure I share this real quick to my stories, etc. We're going to be talking about some video games,
Yeah.
a little bit of the discourse. We're going to tiptoe y'all in, okay? I don't know if y'all came here minute zero, but we went all the way in. We're going to reel it back a little bit. We aren't always on YouTube. You
Mm.
haven't seen us a couple times. You haven't seen us. We're unfamiliar. What do you say to a mindful gamer? Who are you?
Oh man, I had a whole separate life before this, but then I realized how much I love video games and I decided, you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play games, I'm gonna talk about them and play them differently. I feel like there's a lot of gamers out there, there's a lot of people that play games, and I don't know, I just got tired of seeing man screams at video game man yells at video game. Like video games are really awesome. There's lots of really unique, amazing stories that you can tell with them. And I think that sometimes, we forget that. And so my goal as a content creator is to just remind people about how awesome games can be. And yeah, to kind of create a space where you play games with some intention. That's what I want to do.
Do you think, like, just for you personally, where did the man yells at? How did that get so popular?
I mean, look, to be honest with you, I don't want to say it's any one person. I don't want to because of course people are going to say that you're hating, but
Yeah.
like I really do think that there are a lot of earlier YouTubers
Mhm.
who really kind of pioneered this space of like intense anger and emotion around video games.
Yeah.
Not trying to call nobody's name specifically,
Yeah.
but like there are definitely some angry,
Very, very,
reviewers,
very. Yeah.
very angry reviewers out there. And like video games are a space to like express your emotion and stuff, and like that gets your attention. Who is this person yelling and loud and making all of this noise and such? And so I think a little bit of it came there. I think that video games have always been a place where people have like released and expressed emotions that they otherwise wouldn't, but somehow that led us to the place where now if someone isn't yelling in a game, screaming in a game, if they're not telling you, at the top of their voice how bad it is, then it's somehow, I don't know at what point authenticity and anger and loudness became
Yeah.
synonymous,
Yeah.
but at some
Yeah.
point that happened. It
They,
really
I
did.
don't, somewhere, this probably happened before video games, at least that specific part with
Yeah.
like anger and fresh, like sports. Somewhere in sports world, they kind of fused that together into one, and
Yeah.
it kind of carried over into video games. Um, I also think it's a situation where, you know how if you keep saying someone's dumb, they'll just like play into that. If you keep saying you're goofy, sometimes they'll just play into that. All right, I'm the
Right.
goofy person. If you keep saying I'm late, you're the late person, then like
Right.
they'll just be like, all right, I'll be late. I'm the late person anyway. I
Right.
think a little bit of that is also played into the angry gamer person, right?
Right. 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 Right.
Where
For
it's
sure.
like this is what we do. We're gamers. We
Right.
yell racist, weird things into the mic.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For
Like that's
sure.
just that's what we do. Like
At
that's who
some
we
point
are.
that got normalized, like, and I've always had an issue with it, like in game lobbies where you have people just being toxic for
Yeah,
absolutely no reason, and then if you call it out somehow, oh, you're just being too sensitive, or
yeah.
you don't, and I think that's ridiculous. It
And
really is.
also it's ridiculous for me because it's also legit just not funny. Like
Yeah,
if you
for
had
sure.
some really well crafted jokes
For
in
sure.
those modern warfare 2 lobbies,
For
and
sure.
you caught me by off guard, I chuckle. You got it. You win.
You did
That was
that.
almost never the case. They
How
just
many
yell.
times can you hear if when especially if like a girl comes into the lobby, how many times can you hear go in the kitchen and make me a sandwich
You
before
know
it
what I
gets
mean?
old, like it's just
It's just not
it's
creative at
at
all.
all, in the
At
slightest,
all.
in the slightest.
So that's where a lot of that culminated, right? A lot of that Modern Warfare, Call of Duty lobby that they love to fantasize about.
Yeah,
Uh,
back in the good days, whenever
back in the good
you
old
could you could
days.
say things and people weren't so sensitive.
Right, right. When you were 14 and just discovered talking to someone across the world, like that was that was our first time ever being able to talk to some people across the world, and some of us decided to be assholes. It's like we was to ever having contact with aliens. Some of y'all would just have
Oh, for
been
sure,
ruined that entire
for sure,
relationship
for
if that
everyone,
was to ever be a thing.
for everyone.
Let them tell it. Where in a different world we could just be chilling and
Yeah,
have a good old time playing video games. You
the
could be
world is already
competitive.
too messed up. Yeah, for sure.
You can even talk shit. That's fine, but there's a way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's a creative, interesting way to do it, and they don't do that.
nope. It's the
But we're
same
here to talk
tired
about all
tropes.
that fun shit. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's the Mindful Gamer. It's Ronell from 8-Bit Close Fist. You've seen me on TikTok. You've seen him on TikTok. You've seen him on YouTube. Yeah, you'll eventually see me on YouTube. You also do some stand up. So you may
I
have seen him
do.
in real life as well.
Yeah, yeah. Man. I just had 2
A
shows a
whole nother
couple of
side.
weeks ago for sure. Lots of facets, man. Apparently, you can't do too much though. I don't. This might be a segue to our conversation, but apparently, you can't do too much. You're supposed to pick a lane and stay in it. I don't know if you saw that
Ooh.
in the little conversation that we're probably going to reference a little bit today. You got to pick one, but anyway.
We're going to have to reference that conversation in a very quick minute. I just posted it on TikTok. I mean, on Twitter, said that we're going live, so people are in here. But the conversation that has dominated video games in general for the last at least year, but especially these last few months, is the most annoying possible conversation, the most brain dead culmination of all of the terrible tropes that we just mentioned. It's the angry gamer. It's the racist, I wish we was Modern Warfare 2 lobby gamer. It's all of them culminating into this one experience. The Gamergate gamer
For sure.
all came together and found a new cause so that they can create the whole discord, the whole discourse surrounding video games is now Modern Warfare 2 lobby.
For sure.
They did it.
Yeah. Very
And,
successful. Successful.
and here we are. DEI,
Yeah.
wokeness, Sweet Baby Inc., video game culture war. What happened to the sweet hobby that we enjoyed?
Yeah.
Well,
Golly.
yeah. And I like talking about video games.
I do.
It's fun.
There's so many other I mean, and just the advances in video games, the things to look forward to. Like I've yet to see, for example, not to get too far off topic, but I've yet to see video games incorporate something like artificial intelligence in them yet. Like I am so excited. I am so excited for what the future of games look like.
They can't do that. They
But
can't
we
do
can't
that.
we can't be excited because
No.
DEI.
What if that AI makes a girl's chin? What if that AI doesn't know that women have hair on their faces? Now what are we gonna do?
Sometimes even under their arms, bro. Like it's
Occasionally,
crazy.
Apparently, they have hair, spores that places that grow hair. Where have we gone wrong as a society?
For sure.
Where video games have customization options for all people.
For all people. Yeah.
Apparently, it goes against the grain of all gamers and gamer society to showcase vitiligo.
I don't know why people hate vitiligo so much. Like these people eating good, they had no representation. It really blows my mind. You can have an orc with 4 noses and 7 eyes, but like vitiligo, like I just couldn't imagine. And maybe I'm just missing something, but I just could not imagine sitting down to create a character, seeing an option that I would never choose in the first place
ever,
and then making a 25-minute YouTube video about how the inclusion of it is ruining gaming. I don't get what are the steps.
If they changed it from vitiligo, change the word from vitiligo to tattoo marking or something,
right? They probably would be upset. Yeah. Do they think that vitiligo is just a black thing?
Damn, they might. Not even joking, they actually might.
That might be what it is.
And they are, which is crazy when talking about a game that has an orc with 17 noses and the power to reinvent himself and lift a truck. They are very big on this. The world is meant to, games is meant to escape.
Right.
That's their whole thing. We don't want
politics
real world politics. They say that real world politics thing like that, like somehow narrows it down to like we're talking about fake world politics. Like every politic is a real world politic, but
for sure
they narrow it down to we don't want real world modern identity politics shoved down our throats. The main thing that they say.
Yeah, forced diversity and inclusion. Yeah, and it's just interesting to me because like anybody, and again, I'm not because I try to like draw a distinction. I do think that there are some people that are caught up within this DEI gaming grift, because that's what it is. It's just a grift. It's just
Mhm.
people who've identified a group of people who are angry about something they don't understand, and they're making content that continues to validate and reinforce that anger. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And I think that there are some people within that grift who can be saved. So like I try to
Mhm.
keep, I don't want to end up doing the same thing from an opposite perspective,
Right.
where you just end up going off on people that share these ideals.
Mhm.
However, politics have always been in video games, and anybody with any sort, like anyone that plays video games with any sort of intention, any sort of thought, any sort of, when you sit down to play, you're reading the lore, you're paying attention to the story, you're understanding the characters and their motivations. Anybody who does that can, and has even a middle school education will be able to see some of the themes reflected in video games that are political. You can't make a game that isn't political unless it's just a purely puzzle-based game. The
Yeah.
minute that you add people and stories and conflict, you've added in politics. And I really think that it really goes to show, like, one, with problem with our education system, and two, how when they say things like they don't want politics in games or they don't like DEI, they're just simply double speak for Black people, people of color, trans. Like, that's all that means to them. Like, they have no idea that their games have been political. And then I'm gonna shut up, but like Metal Gear Solid is one of the most political games ever to be made, period. And like, it's really interesting that they don't catch that.
Yes, exactly. Leo says they've always been there, and now they pretend it never existed. 100%.
For
You
sure.
got games like Red Faction. I always bring up Red Faction because I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people played that game, and it's called Red Faction. It has a fist on the cover. You know what I mean? And I would like to think that they could draw some sort of parallel that this in that game quite literally was made because the creator said they wanted to actually tell a message within a video game.
Yeah.
They said it blatantly that I
Mhm.
want something more from a video game than just running around and shooting shit.
Right.
And that's how you got class war and capitalism and all those themes in that game.
Hmm.
Just because you didn't know it existed
Right.
doesn't mean it didn't exist.
Helldivers too, like that. I mean, that to me,
That one
and
was crazy.
that is crazy. The amount of like political commentary, fascism in that game, and like the crazy thing was, people were like unironically
Right.
not getting the story. Like, you're not the good guys
Yeah.
here, you know?
Yeah. 100%. And it goes, and they always say things like, well, we didn't trip when Tomb Raider was I guess was a thing. We didn't trip when they always say San Andreas because that's one of the only games that they could ever mention.
Okay, I thought it was just me, man, because anytime I've ever discussed like diversity and inclusion, a significant portion of them bring up Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, like
Yeah.
a significant portion. Like,
I
it's
bet.
insane.
I bet you
I,
did
I've
love San
heard it
Andreas.
so many times. What is that?
They love San Andreas.
You mean
Boy.
to tell me the beacon of inclusion and diversity for you is a drug dealer in a game? Like, and he didn't even have the decency to be called, like, like a crime boss. Like, he was
No,
straight up a drug dealer. Like, come on, man.
100%. CJ. They say, yo, look, we didn't trip playing as
Who did
CJ.
you see?
I'm sure you didn't, man. I'm sure you didn't. But we've moved on, and we like to make different games and different people in different places. But yeah, they don't want modern woke politics in video
Yeah,
games, even though, like you said, this has always been a thing. It will always be a thing, unless you're
yeah.
playing Tetris. You know what I mean? Like, and even that, I'm sure if I think deep enough, it
I'm
has
telling you, I
perfect.
could do it. I could do it. Absolutely. We could talk about how Tetris is a metaphor for the amount of resources that you have and trying to allocate them in a way like,
I have
if you
no
really
clue.
want to get deep, I got you. I got you. We can overthink it.
What they mean to say is they don't want politics, or they don't want shit that they makes them feel uncomfortable,
For sure.
right?
And
And
that's what it
given
is. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, that's 100% what it is. And like, given the political climate and the world in general, they are more sensitive to these things, and they
Mhm.
think that they're being preached to, as they like to say. They think that it's being shoved down their throat. But the world and people who are creating video games are just doing what they do.
Yeah.
right?
It's
They've
not even
just
being preached to. They feel like they're being targeted. They feel
yeah,
like they're being forced to deal with something that they haven't had to deal before, which I think speaks to the point that we've been trying to make, and is that like video games have been created for a very specific demographic for so long. Like you've never had to interact with any of these themes in any way that wasn't a caricature or a
mhm,
stereotype. That's why they continue to talk about GTA San Andreas. Like that
love it.
stereotype, you felt comfortable with that, like that was something that you could see, and it made you feel okay. Like, and as much as I love The Walking Dead with Lee Everett was a criminal who murdered his I think either his wife or something like that.
Mhm.
But like, as long as the inclusion of these characters fits into stereotypes that they're familiar with, they have no problem with them. But the minute that they try to do something different, then all of a sudden it's forced, and it's not fair, and this isn't genuine, it's not authentic. And yeah, it's really telling. Like, to
Yeah,
anybody who pays attention for more than 5 minutes, you can tell exactly what's going on. It's just hard to talk about it publicly because they're just so loud.
they're so loud. I'm gonna try to bring up this picture real quick. I hope this doesn't
Okay.
ruin everything.
Because we got to get it right, man. Whenever they have their live streams, bro,
That should be
they
popping.
they they be popping, bro, for real.
You're 100% correct. Let me see if I can pull this John up. Got to move quick. I don't have time. Boom, boom. Come
It's
on,
all
come
good. We
on.
got plenty of time. I think our viewers are going to be very patient, and we're trying
There we
something new,
go.
so they can be patient
Boom.
with
There
us.
we go. My boy Leo's in there. What did Leo say? What frustrates me the most about Dragon Age is that Origins, for example, has always dealt with the same themes that stir up this crowd's anger today. I really, really don't understand it. A lot of these games have these same themes.
Hmm.
There's nothing new necessarily. It's just that their perception of it is new. That's why I always say, there's skill issue. I always say perception issue. A
Yeah.
lot of the times, it really is just their perception of these things changing.
Yeah. I think it's that, and the fact that these grifters on YouTube have really stoked up like a sense of frustration in them, where like they're angry about things that they otherwise wouldn't care about. Like, it's not their anger. It's not, they haven't looked at that objectively themselves and come to a decision that I don't like this. They
Right.
are caught up in really the algorithm, and they feel, I'm supposed, like, it's a conditioned response. It's not even something they're conscious of. Like, they see pronouns in a video game and then they get upset. But I mean, pronouns have been in video games for the longest time. If you go
Right.
back long enough to certain games before we had good enough voice acting and they could spend money, everybody had they them pronouns, so they didn't have to rewrite the scripts every single time and go he, her, she, them, because they didn't know which character you're going to pick.
Right.
Like, it's only until now recently that they've gotten caught up in that grifting algorithm of anger and let's be mad at everything that they care. It's
Yeah.
really funny when you think
Yeah.
about it.
100%. Even with the pronoun thing, a lot of them say they don't want politics that affect poorly done that affect the game that doesn't make sense, right? And I can understand that, right? You don't
Right.
want this character to have certain revelations or certain arcs because of a specific something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That happened in real life. I don't know. The black kid is stronger because he went through a protest. I don't know. Like I can
I can't
understand
think
how
of, yeah.
or
I,
something like that can dumb down the story. It does for all of us. Nobody want to, what I'm saying? That's just poor writing.
mhm.
That's just poor writing. But then when it comes to the pronoun thing, that doesn't affect anything. That takes like 2 seconds for them to put into the game, for them
Yep.
to just, what I'm saying, come up with, and it's in there, right? It's not forcing anything. You can specifically with a forbidden game that I'm afraid to mention, because once you mention it, they all come out of nowhere. You see that viewer count? That viewer count is going to jump up the moment I mention this video game. Okay, it's called Conquered, and with that game, they always talked about pronouns. And legit, I didn't even know that game showcased characters' pronouns after playing it for a good amount of hours until I
Mm-hmm.
seen a screenshot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, you have to like go search for this to figure
Mm-hmm.
this out. It's a
Yep.
shooting game. why am I looking? I'm not looking at character descriptions. I'm sorry. Like I'm not really reading what's going on with the character in the beta of a shooting game. I just want to
Now,
shoot the kid.
now, to be fair with you, as a mindful gamer, that's something that I might do. Like
Mhm.
that might add a little bit of detail and depth just for me, you know. But at the end of the day, its inclusion one isn't the reason that Concord failed. Concord failed because it was a $40 game in a world where Overwatch exists. But like its inclusion, its inclusion in the game doesn't take anything away, you know, from anyone else that might be playing it.
Right, 1,000. But it does for them for some reason.
Yeah.
It I don't know why it is the case. And I also think this. I also think right before this movement was really brewing, it was just people saying games suck now.
Yeah.
Right? It was just a group of people saying I'm not having fun with games right now. Rather that be because Call of Duty wasn't as fun and they got bored of 2K and insert racing game wasn't really popping off anymore. So they didn't have anything or they felt they didn't have anything. So they just said all games suck right now. Those people transformed into this movement. And that's how you get some people who are not WASP, who still agree with the sentiment, right? Like there are
Right.
people of color who have some of this stuff and they're just like, nah, I agree. Something's wrong. Something changed. And I
Right.
think it's this, right? Even though it's going against themselves, really, they just feel like something changed and they're pointing the finger at this.
Right. Right. For sure.
I'm
And
going
I
to try to
think,
put this picture up again.
yeah, I mean, but to be honest, I think that there has been a change happening in gaming. Like you can see it in like AAA titles, but in the world of like indie games, like we're eating so good. There's so many
Indie games are
amazing
fire.
games that have come out in the past year and a half that people haven't heard about because they're stuck in what I feel like is this AAA gaming like ecosystem where if people would just take a step back and like there's so many games out there for them to play that like are specifically catered and created towards whatever weird sort of like thing that you're into. I love music rhythm games. I have found
Mhm.
so many like music rhythm, like Metal Hellsinger is a perfect example. It's a music rhythm first person shooter, heavy metal first person shooter. It's amazing. It's
Mhm.
amazing. And
What is it
like
called?
it's called Metal Hellsinger.
Oh yeah.
That game is so good. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
makes no
Shoot
sense.
to the sound of the
Shoot
beat,
to the
the original
sound to
beat.
the
Yeah,
beat of the game.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
amazing. And like there's just all these wonderful games out, but people are still focused on the same 2K Call of Duty, like, you know, just ridiculousness. And
Yeah.
if they would just step out of that, like we
They
wouldn't
will find
have
some
this problem.
beautiful games.
But the people that they are subscribed to, the people that they're watching, they're not doing that. They're keeping them in this constant just realm of anger and frustration about stuff that they wouldn't be upset about if they would think for themselves for a little bit.
Yeah. And this is kind of like a cycle, right? Like, especially with streamers and YouTubers.
Mm,
A lot of streamers, YouTubers, content creators, myself included, can't really successfully talk about indie games as much as we can, like a big title, right? Dragon Ball Sparking Zero come out. I make a video about Sparking Zero. It's guaranteed a certain amount of views just because people are searching for it, people are looking for it. It's popular. It's automatically going to hit, right? But if I make a video about Sea of Stars, you know what I mean? Like it might not pop off as much. It got to be a really good video for the people, and they got to hit the people who played Sea of Stars, who are already interested in Sea of Stars,
right,
and those people have to be inclined to comment on that video
right,
just to get that video to do a little something,
right,
right? It's just a bigger gamble. So what happens is the bigger content creators only play those big AAA games, right? And then the gamers only see those big AAA games, so they
That's
only
true.
care about them, right? And then it's like a cycle of like trying to keep up with the Joneses of only playing the most popular game
For
out.
sure, especially
Which
when you want to get that engagement so that you can, you know, when you want to get that engagement so that you can grow your channel or
Yeah.
make money or whatever it might be. Like, I'm not trying to knock that in the slightest, but it just sucks because there are some really amazing games out there that people just are not aware of.
And if people would like were more susceptible to it, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like if people didn't, you know what I'm saying, say every game looked like a mobile game, then like maybe, you know what I'm
I
saying, we could talk
know.
about this.
Speaking of, I'm sorry. Here we go. I'm gonna do this real quick. Marvel's Midnight Suns is one of the best, bro,
Man, my son's been hard.
bro,
So
bro.
underlooked.
Marvel's Midnight Suns is excellent.
It's a great
It
game.
is an excellent Marvel game, bro. The story, the gameplay, the characters, the acting. You can go play cards with Captain Marvel on the Wii. And because people thought that it was just a mobile card game, that game did not get any of the recognition it deserved. Maybe that should be what we do, boss. Maybe we should just start trying to like spread the gospel of games that you missed because you were too busy, you know.
Honestly, and and we got to become diehards. Like the way I had to preach actually Midnight Suns. Like I had to preach some of these games. Like I was getting paid. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to really be in these streets. Like hey, and so people are like, all right, bro. Let me check out Midnight Suns.
And so, you know, but to be honest, I think part of it is going to have to be telling the story of like your own conversion, since you say preaching. When I first saw it 2 years ago, I saw that it was like cards, and I was like, I'm not interested in that. Like, I don't want to play a game that has cards in it. It was the same issue that I had with Baldur's Gate 3. I don't like this turn battle based thing, and I'm not trying to learn anything new or different. And the only reason I played Marvel's Midnight Suns was because not because Baldur's Gate is similar to it, but because I had to go through the same process of humbling myself, swallowing my ego, and allowing myself to go through the tutorial in Baldur's Gate to learn how the gameplay worked. I did the same thing in Midnight Suns, and like I cannot wait until I unlock the next card to see how it's going to synergize with the deck that I have. Like there's so many layers of complexity. Like, and you genuinely, we'll get back to culture war, but you genuinely feel like you're a tactical mastermind. Like you cannot explain it. Yeah, when combos hit just right, like come on,
they
man.
tried something new. This is what I've been waiting for. They tried something new, right? They said, all right, we got the third person action adventures with Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? We do what we do. Let's try something new. They tried something new. They did it fairly well, right? I think what they sought to do, they did it well.
Oh yeah,
and still. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it did enough numbers to.
Nah, man, the studio got shut down, bro. Like,
what day?
Yeah, I think that the people that were working on it, something like that happened. It was considered a commercial failure, and it really sucks because if people would just, it takes about 10 or 15 minutes, but once you understand it, it's no different than if you were playing a turn-based RPG, which a lot of people don't like for some reason. Like, I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of gamers who are just kind of stuck in this mindset, and like they just want to see particle effects. Like, I mean, no disrespect, but like Spider-Man 2, you're not a badass because you can mash square and circle every now and then, you know? Like, I'm not saying it doesn't take skill, but like
it really don't.
There's not a lot of thought that really goes into it. And I think that's what I mean when I talk about like being a mindful gamer. Like, I want to play a game where I can't be texting on my phone at the same time, or I can't be trying to entertain. But then you get into, well, who are the gamers that are playing? Are they setting aside time? Do they have other responsibilities? What kind of gamer are you? What I really think we need to do, and this is probably going to be controversial, but I really think we need to expand the definition of what a casual gamer is. I think there are a lot of people who are casual gamers now who are making complaints like they're hardcore gamers when they're really not, man.
You're 100%. Lou says, my issue is that the games that interest me don't have casual players, and as a basement-dwelling introvert, making friends is rough. Issues that games don't have casual players. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what you mean by that? Help us understand. I don't know what you mean by that. I do think that video games, though, are a great place to create and make long-lasting friendships that matter. It's just because of these guys that get so toxic. I was
Yeah.
playing today, and I was playing Call of Duty today, and I had got play of the game because I am crazy with these pistols. I can't wait to show the world. But I was having a great time, and like somebody else in the game was like, "Man, that was really awesome. Good, good stuff, Angel." It was a girl actually. She was like, "Good stuff, Angel." And then this random guy just goes, "Kill yourself." I'm like, "Bro, what? What?" Like it was so unnecessary. And I'm like,
Damn, killing the vibe. Just
what
killing.
is this deep-seated anger that you all have? Like, what do you need hugs? You need
2K is a
love? Like,
whole
what
nother
is
community.
it?
I think genuinely that 2K is a place for angry dudes to just be angry. Like that
Yeah,
they are really an angry bunch over there. It's really crazy to see. Like I'm not even joking. Like if you watch a game of like Rec, which is like 5v5s, was a bunch of them in one room, and just to watch that they talk to their teammates. You can only talk to your teammate. The way
right.
that they talk and how quickly they go from 0 to 100
Yeah,
is sad. It's
yeah,
it's sad.
yeah,
But we can have these discussions about video games and how, like you said, one of the quickest ways to make someone never play a video game, studies say, is from being in a toxic culture, right? That's how most people turn off a game and never go back to it.
yep,
One of the number one reasons is just a toxic community. But we
yeah.
can't have these discussions because they're being full of people that are talking about whether or not you can have a black character in a game or
Yeah,
not.
it seems like we should have elevated from this from so long ago. Like there's so many other gaming conversations to have than
Tons,
DEI and Sweet Baby Inc. And like part
tons.
of it is YouTube because YouTube is profiting off of these conversations so much. They really are. They profit so much from people just being angry and mad, and that's what they're promoting. And
Yeah.
and I know I've made some videos, and again, working on my editing so that people actually want to watch them. But like I know I've made videos like countering this, and they don't do near as well as the videos where I'm directly calling out and being angry about the anti-wokeness. It's
Yeah.
amazing to me.
Yeah. Yep. Games like Lou says games like DayZ and Rust, the big open world walking simulators where I deal with everything y'all just said. Oh,
Yeah, I
annoyingly,
see what you're saying. I
toxic
see what you're
community.
saying.
I
I see
got
what
you.
you're saying. And so what I feel like Lou is saying is like those games don't have casual players
Right.
because the to get into them, it does require like a significant amount of investment, and like you just have to be willing to be patient. I think overall the thing is it's like slowing down enough to get into games like that. And there have been a couple of times where I play games that weren't like didn't have like mainstream appeal, but the communities within them are definitely really nice. This is probably gonna for a brief stint in time when I was doing VR, I actually got into VR chat for a little bit, and
That shit
like
fun.
it is, and the people are except for the PDF files, you have to watch out for them, but
Oh
like
god.
other than that, bro, like it was a ton of fun. I was like, oh my god, I'm in a
Yeah.
brand new world, meeting people and stuff. You can see social dynamics
And they're
and
just
stuff in
chilling.
the people, and you're just bro. I went to a club and like it was so cool, man. And it was on a weekend where like I wasn't feeling like going out. It was raining and stuff. And bro, when I tell
Perfect.
you, like I had my VR headset on and I was just in there in the middle of I was dancing by myself, and like I saw people like this dude's down here is dancing, and before you knew it, like it was lit. It was so lit. It was so
We
lit.
can, and that's the trash thing, and why I really hate how this conversation about video games and the culture and community of video games have gotten so trash, because video games can be such a good
So
peer to
much
like
fun, bro.
community,
So
and like
much.
especially as we
So
get
much.
older, right? Like
Yeah.
the young kiddies don't fully get it because they go to school every day and they have to be within some, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, for the most part, some sort of community. I get it. But when you get older and you go to work and come home, you know what I'm saying, like
Right.
video games could have been, and still can be, and still is, such a great spot for like building some sort of community. I know
Yep.
people are anti-digital, go outside and talk, but like VR chat is pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I don't know if our brain tells as much difference as talking to
I
someone.
I felt the same level of like, and again, I recognize it was just VR, but like I feel like you suspend your disbelief enough. One, there's healing in being able to like we talk about the matrix and all that stuff, like but like there's just this healing and like this Ready Player One sort of attitude and vibe where you can take who you are and like project that into an online avatar, I felt the same level of like nervousness and excitement. Like I remember trying to get into the club, I had to wait in line and tell them how old I was. Like it was the same level of like, you know, really interesting experience. And like, yeah, even just talking with you about it now, like I'm remembering that like, holy shit, I love video games. I've had some amazing experiences, and it's just hard when all you ever hear about is DEI and you know, wokeness like infesting games. Like that's not what it is. There's
Which
not
is
what it is.
such grifter language, you know, like
Yeah.
it's such exaggerative,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, like polarizing
Mm-hmm.
language. There is in no world does adding an option
Mm-hmm.
into a video game ruin anything for you
sure.
and your personal experience.
For sure.
It's impossible.
For
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? Like you're tripping. If, you know what I'm saying? If it does, like
It's not like
there's
they're
no way.
making you play as that,
Right.
like you have no choice, like we haven't had in video games for the last, I don't know, 30 something years. It's been the same default. And again, I have nothing against white people, but it's been the same default white male character in every single video game. Here's a white guy with daddy issues. Here's the white guy that's, I mean, Mass Effect. The default characters are white. Max Payne. Here's a white guy whose family got taken away. Do you want to be a white guy that's that has power over an industrial military complex? How about a white guy with the power of a god? How about a white guy? Like it's the same. Like and I think, you know, they may not be able to put it into words, but that's why you feel like video games are so boring. There, you have to have different, you know, identities in order to tell different stories. There's just no way around it. Like, there's no way around it.
And it makes for better storytelling. It makes for more immersive storytelling. What is wrong with more details of a character? Look, I don't even, if you're gonna put the white character in there, that's fine. At least don't make him a default color palette. He's just, give me some background. What's going on with him? Where is he from? What does he do?
Forced diversity. That's what it is, man. It's that forced inclusion. No,
everything forced, man. Forced diversity all over the place this week, because we can have some other cool characters, right?
Yeah, like, and I think we just, who you got? Who you thinking of?
Like some actually interesting characters. First off, I think Apex did a really good job, right? They have a bunch of different characters, bunch of different personalities. They don't shy away from giving them accents and giving them origins and places to live and where they come from. That's great. Overwatch also did a good job with that.
I agree.
And it was, by all definitions, I guess, forced, right? They clearly thought about these characters. They clearly thought about where they're going to make sure that they are from. How are they going to interact with other people, right? I understand we had Lucio, which was a dreadhead music guy. You know,
they tried.
Who roller skated, you know, and they tried it, and you know what? I was happy.
At least
I was happy with it.
Can I say another place I think that they do really well, that I think has done really well, is in fighting games. I think fighting games have for a while done a great job of including diverse characters, and it adds a lot to the story and it adds a lot to the background. I'm thinking about how people lost their minds that Cyrax and Sector in Mortal Kombat 1 were quote unquote gender swapped. Like, it's a multiverse story. Like, it's a and I think that's another thing when they talk about like race swapping and gender swapping. Like, I just really want to remind them that these characters don't exist in reality. Like, they're concepts. Like, if you wanted to take, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a historical figure. Like, if you made a historically accurate movie, Abraham Lincoln, and but they made him a vampire hunter, and they were fine with that. They were fine with that, you know. But like, if you took Abraham Lincoln and made him a Chinese man, and then tried to tell a historically accurate story, I can understand your frustration. It would be a lot like if you had a samurai movie. Never mind, let's leave it alone. But the point I'm making is, like, I can understand that. But Sub-Zero, Cyrax, these are just concepts of characters. They can change at any point in time. Why is this so painful to you that they updated it a little bit? And they're badass, bro. Like, Cyrax is badass in MK1.
They've been black.
For sure.
And the whole story is about them changing shit up. That's the entire point of Mortal
Mhm.
Kombat 1 is
Mhm.
switching shit up. Like that's the
Mhm.
entire point, which goes to show that a lot of the times they don't even I I battle with, do they
Know the
know
source
how
material.
silly it sounds?
Source material and how silly, yeah.
Right? Do they know how silly it sounds? Are they, I know a lot of it is a grift, right? So like a
Mhm.
lot of some of half of them 100% know it's bullshit, right?
Mhm.
They're behind their computer, they tweet this thing out,
Mhm.
they know it's bullshit,
For
but
sure.
they know it's going to get clicks, they know it's going to get likes, and they
Right.
will make money, right? They know that 100%, right? And those people lost cause. Not
Mhm.
much we can do about it. There's people who will are susceptible to those grifts. There's people who will see that and immediately say, "Yeah, I hate black people. You hate black people. Let's do this." You know
Let's
what
hang
I'm
out.
saying? Like, we're out. We ride. You know what I mean? But there's some people who see these things. They understand it. They know, but something in their brains don't click enough to say, "Wait, that's a lie," and now I can't really trust you because you're telling lies,
I think
right? Like,
those people who you're talking about, though, like, to be honest with you, if you, again, this is why I'm trying to have grace and understanding for them, because those people, it's kind of like, those people that believe that the earth is flat, and
mhm,
that, those folks, like, a lot of people like to make fun of folks like that. And I have a lot of compassion and understanding for them, partly because I grew up in a Christian cult, so I know what it's like to believe that. But number two, it's individuals who feel, who, like, it's their community. Like, if they decide that these people that are telling me all these things are just grifting me, then they miss out on that community. It is really strong and powerful to be part of something and feel like we're the only people who understand. We're the only people who know and who see that this war is going on. And like, that desire for community, that desire to have people around them can be so strong that it will shut down the logical part of their brain. And as much as they like to call the other side snowflakes and really sensitive, which there are some people on there, like, really, you need to chill out. That's not that big of a deal. But as much as there are, they don't realize how emotional they are. I think that's one of the most interesting things about this entire conversation, is that these are some of the most emotional, like, people on the, and there's nothing wrong with being emotional, but it's just when you use that as like a pejorative for the other side, it's inconsistent. It doesn't make any sense. Like, to look at a game, the Mass Effect game, to look and see that there are pronouns in the Mass Effect board game, and that triggers you to make 3 or 4 tweets and 20-minute videos, like, there's just some stuff you need to deal with. So I think that those group of people, the problem is they don't want to lose the community that they found. They don't understand, and they feel like, and this is why I think, it's important to be careful with how we talk about these things, because yes, sometimes you just need to take the piss out of them and have fun, because if not, you'll just devolve into sadness and nihilism. But we need to be careful with how we address these people, because we need to let them know there is a community for you to come to. Like, all you have to do is just stop with the bullshit.
yeah,
Just stop with the bullshit and then join us. Let's play. Who
yeah,
are you? I want to get to meet you. Tell me your story. But
yeah.
they feel like they've gone so far. They've done so much. They've said such terrible things that there won't be a place for them, that people won't accept them. And it's just simply not true. It's simply not. I know what it's like to believe things that are ridiculous, like I do. And I think if they knew that there was a community that they could come to, even in the midst of all the worst things they've said, I think that a lot of them would let go of it a lot sooner.
I actually 100% agree, right? Which is why I think it's important to have a pushback, and not just because, but to push back to the other people who are anti woke, not just to shut them down or 100% to like talk shit about
Mm-hmm.
them, but also to let the other people know that you can also come over here and just like build a
Right.
community over here as well,
For sure.
right? Like there's other places to build the community, like you just said,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to do it by being a troll on the internet, right? That's
Right.
become so popular, right?
Yep.
And the people who are not doing that don't really exist. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
they aren't creating the content, right? Because maybe the content isn't as going to get as much views, or we're just, I mean, not trying to deal with the the drama of it
the
all, right?
backlash.
So you
Like,
kind of
yeah, I mean, you have to be ready, like, because whenever they can be extremely violent, like no one wants to have to deal with that. Like, we've seen what they did with Gamergate. We see what they do to especially women in the space. Like, it's extremely violent, and like in order to do it, you have to be ready to deal with like quite a bit of backlash.
100%. Like he's TJI just said, they don't want to come through though because their community gives them what they want, meaning and purpose. Our side is boring. Their side is
Yeah.
fighting a war.
Yeah,
You know what
for
I'm saying?
sure.
And
What
that's
a great point,
100%
TJ.
what it is,
What a
right?
great point. What a great
Like
point.
that's 100% what it is. Yo,
Yep.
we're out here, we're winning. They always say that. I see that in my comments a lot. Well,
Yep.
we're winning though, right? And so there's a lot of talk about like, and this is a whole internet thing, right? So this goes into way beyond video games mostly, but there's this whole thing of like people on the internet kind of like feel free to be who they are, right? That's one thing. Another thing is like people can be the assholes that they kind of want to be that they can't be in real life, right? But another theory is that people are just kind of going with the grain of what's going on, right? So if it becomes normal internet culture to be nice, then people will be nice. If it becomes normal internet culture to deny facts, then people would just deny
Right.
facts, right? Long story, but League of Legends for the longest time have been trying to combat toxic communities
Yeah.
within their games, right? And they used to have this thing called like the tribunal or whatever, which was basically player voted weirdness. Like if you report someone, it'll go to other players, and the players will vote on whether or not this is good or bad.
Right.
A lot of times, I'm super paraphrasing because they went through a lot of iterations of this, but a lot of the times they've come to realize that people knew what they were doing were bad, but they knew that it was okay in this space. But when they realized that it wasn't okay in this space, they didn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the video game toxicity discourse that's going on, they see that it is just normal to
Yeah.
hate, bash, and talk shit about games, even without facts, just because that's just what's going on with the internet, right? That's
Right.
just the wave that's going on. So you just feel safe doing it, which is
Yeah.
why we got to have these conversations. And the people that's like, oh, that's just stupid, also should voice some opposition so that more people have a place to go. Because a lot of
Right.
people really love community, which is why you should follow the Mindful Gamer on YouTube. You should follow a Big Closed Fist. We plan on having these type of conversations a lot more often.
Yeah.
This is a free plug time for sure, but it's a very, very interesting
For
conversation
sure.
we have.
And you know what I think though, like when it comes to those individuals and those communities that they've made that are based on hate and anger and frustration, like the thing is, it's unsustainable. Like I can walk you through the life cycle of what's going to happen. It's because I'm seeing it now. Recently, there was just to be honest, it was basically a modern day Klan rally, to be honest, around Tales of Zanzar Zao. And if you could look up the name of I forget it, I think it's Abu Bakr, if I'm correct.
Oh, his name.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Abu Bakr Salim that's exactly what his name is. And his game Tales of Zanzar Zao. And like it was just a group of just honestly white dudes that created a whole round table that were supposed to be talking about the game and how they feel like he was inauthentic and he was just using the story of his dad dying to sell his game. And some of the things that specifically one person in there said, but the fact that you're in there listening to this person say these things and not saying anything about it means you're just as culpable. I mean, it was like pure unadulterated. It was just racism. That's all that it was. It was just, and that's what happens when that group of people get together and they're not trying to have conversations with others. Like eventually that's the road you get down. But what's going to happen is this, because I saw it in the comments, like the group of people that we're discussing, those people that can be quote unquote saved still, they see this and they realize, oh my God, like I didn't know that this is what that was about. You can go look at some of the comments now. They're like, this was just straight up racism. You're supposed to be talking about DEI. What about the war that we're fighting? Like what about those things? And like they're gonna slowly lose part of their community, which is why we need to have spaces ready for them to come to, not re-education, but just like, look, there's some truth to what's going on, but they're right for the wrong reasons. You know, yeah, there's problems with games now. It's not because of the inclusion of pronouns in though. That's not what it is. But those creators are gonna like start alienating those group of people, and in order to keep their money, in order to keep the lights on, they're going to have to become more and more
and more.
extreme in the
Yep.
views that they have. And eventually they're going to get to a place where they can get kicked off of YouTube. They're going to get kicked off of these platforms, except for Twitter. They'll be able to go there.
Right.
And like they're just there. And I feel bad for the creators, because one day, you know, they're going to say, like, the internet is forever. One day they're going to say something that they cannot take back, and they won't be able to get a regular job. They won't be able to do any of these other things. And like the people that are associated with them, were you in that chat when that was happening? Were you part of that, you know, community? So I really think you're right. Like, it's super important for us to have these conversations and to create a space where individuals can come and we can explain, like, yeah, it's all good. You used to believe that. I did too. I don't believe it anymore. What's a really fun game you've played lately? Tell us something about a game that you're enjoying that we maybe haven't seen yet.
I also think that at some point, because I genuinely don't think it's a good position for them to have. I think at some point it will like tire itself out. It'll burn itself out, right?
Yeah.
Games are going to have diversity and inclusion. That they're going to have that now, not just because of anything, at least other than diverse people are making games now. Like we are involved in the process. Those old days of just nothing but, you know, saying white men making all of the video games, making all of the decisions are kind of over, right? There's women in gaming. There's LGBTQ plus in gaming. There's people of color in game. We're making the games now, so that's over. So what's going to happen also is that they're going to keep trying to push this, and then every game's going to have it, and then some of those games are going to be fun, successful games, right? And it's going to become undeniable. It's already starting to happen. You have a Conquered, that happens. You have a Dustborn, that happens.
Don't hang on real quick, because I was one of the 76 people that purchased Dustborn. Do not put Dustborn. Dustborn was a disrespect. Dustborn is the biggest piece of trash that I have ever played. If there was any, because what pisses, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man, but I got so many strong feelings about this. I have so many strong feelings about this. Dustborn is a perfect example of the fucking boogeyman type game they're talking about. It absolutely was. Dustborn was trash. It was trash. It was absolute trash. The voice acting was horrible. The combat was horrible. The story was horrible. It was like what white people in Norway think that black people or people of color or gay people want to talk about. And yes, it had vitiligo in it. Like, it was a horrible game. It was disrespectful to gamers. And I actually heard in my comments there was some developers from Norway that were upset because they got money to make that game from the Norwegian government that could have gone to making something really cool. But like, I would not put Dustborn and Concord in the Concord and Dustborn were both bad, but Dustborn was trash because I really feel like I don't know what they were doing. I think it was it had to be some sort of maybe money laundering or just a way to get, like, what did they spend the money on? Like, because I've actually played it. I paid money for that game and I played it for hours, and I quit playing it at one point when I did this one special move and this girl missed everyone and then clipped into the ground, and I just felt like they were playing in my face. Like, so you're right. Like, you have a Concord, but like, if we have another Dustborn, I might start the right one. Like, that game is so bad. It is one of the worst pieces of game. Superman 64 just got saved. Like, it was so bad. It was just, it was like, we wouldn't think that you would care, or take this trash, or here you go, here's something that y'all will like. Like, it just wasn't good at all. There's nothing redeeming.
Like, it felt disrespectful.
Yes, there was nothing redeeming. You can tell that the people who made Concord, at least they were trying. Like, you can tell they had passion and that they wanted their game to succeed. It feels like the people that made Dustborn wanted their game to fail so that they can complain about it.
I won't put that in the same
Thank you.
conversation
I'm
as
sorry. I
Concord
apologize. I
because
apologize. I apologize.
I won't put it in the same conversation as Concord because I do think Concord was a pretty good game. I think
It
it has
looked like
terrible
it wanted to
marketing
be
and
good.
terrible
Yeah, yeah.
timing and all that
Sony
shit.
shot that game. They let that game out to the pasture to die for sure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. But you have those games, right, that fail, and people who are looking for those games to fail will be able to parade those games as failures, right? Successfully
Right.
so, right? Those people will be able to see um, what's another the Suicide Squad Killer Justice League. They'll
Yeah.
be able to see that
Hmm.
game, right? And they'll say, "Oh, this is the worst game I ever played, and this is why that stuff sucks," right?
Yeah.
But like always, like clockwork, they'll ignore games like Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, Concord had pronouns, so you can change they or they. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can put a whole penis on a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like you can do
Right.
the whole 9 yards.
And with Baldur's Gate 3, though, I want to bring this up. That perfectly segues because, to be fair, in that panel that we're talking about where they were saying all that racist stuff, they brought up Baldur's Gate 3 as an example of wokeness done right. But the reason I feel like they said that is because also you can just goon yourself to the highest degree if you want to in that game. Like, to be honest, like you can make, just to be fair, you can make some really gorgeous characters in the game. And I think that as long as they can be, horny while they're playing the game, I don't think they care. There's a huge problem with, you're an adult, do what you want, but there's definitely a huge like porn problem and like in gaming in general, like and it really messes with the way that people look at women. It gives men body image issues. Like there's some huge issues with that. Like I'm thinking of like the First Descendant, which is just a perfect example of just, I mean, you bought that game so that you could,
craziest shit to me that First Descendant is literally and this is why it goes back into they love a good pandering. They want to be pandered to, right? They love a good pandering as long as they're the ones being pandered to.
For sure.
Dustborn, I mean not Dustborn. The First Descendant is corporate slop.
For sure.
Like it is a game that they threw out there, monetized and pandering directly to you. Like that's all that is. It is forced gooning. Like it is like all of the shit that y'all are accusing other games of. That game is doing it, and it's 100% unoriginal.
In spades.
It literally steals assets from other games, like all of that fun stuff. I'm not saying you can't have fun with it. Cool.
I had fun with it for about 3 hours.
Facts. I'm not saying that at all, right? I've played it a little bit. But don't go into any other conversation talking about pandering and corporate slop and all that shit when you have fun with First Descendant.
They've been pandered to for years, and like that's the thing. I think that's the saddest part about it. Like, and it brings up a very interesting paradox because they say that they're pandering to a specific community, but like then those games don't sell well. Does that not show you that that community is not down for being pandered to? I'm the dumbass that bought Dustborn, but like I think it shows that like that community isn't being pandered to, but like that group of gamers have been pandered to for years, for absolute years. There's a creator on TikTok that made a video about this. I know that you've talked about it. I made a video about it. Like, can you not tell that they are making games? And I think that's what it is. I think some of it is they're seeing what that pandering looks like, and like it's gonna be a hard pill to swallow to realize that's what they've been doing to us the entire time. Are you a white guy that is afraid of going into the military but wants to have a military shooting experience? Here's Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 again, 3 again. Okay, we're gonna remaster 1. Like it's military shooters.
At age.
Sure.
And the crazy thing is, we all unanimously said enough. We're kind of tired of this. Let's give us something new. And now we're complaining about it. TJI said, I will say the gaming community needs to do better at calling out the weirdo leftish movement racist stuff. It's perfectly fine that Sweet Baby Inc. exists, but having employees saying controversial statements about white people, et cetera, I mean, it's like they're trying to look for trouble. I have heard about those controversial statements. I didn't see anything too crazy. I'm not gonna hold you. I haven't seen anything crazy. Maybe you're talking about something that I haven't seen, but if you're talking about the CEO's TED Talks, I guess, or on gaming and stuff, nothing is crazy. When she says she's hate gamers, I could be clipped a million times saying I hate gamers. All right. I don't. She has a profession. She is a gamer. She has a profession designed around making stuff for gamers. I don't think she hates gamers. When she
Okay.
says stuff like she wants to change the industry, blow it up, change it into something different, I don't think that means she wants to literally make the ending of all games as we know it. Well, technically, but I don't think that means she wants the game industry to fall to its knees. It just means she wants to change the game industry.
Right.
I
I'll
don't.
speak on it a little bit directly. I know exactly some of the things she's talking about. Some of the things that they're talking about, and I feel like to a very small, not huge, but to a very small degree, I can understand where you're coming from, and I somewhat agree. So a lot of the times, what happens is you have these individuals in these spaces, and again, this is a high level conversation. So you're either going to understand what it is I'm about to say, or you just need to go and take even the slightest look at the history and the world that we live in. To pretend like racism does not exist in the year 2024 is insane. It's absolutely insane. And to pretend that for a very long amount of time that games have not pandered specifically to a male demographic, but more specifically to a white male demographic, is to just be you're just deluding yourself. So when she says things about white men, like, if you are not someone who understands the conversation, then I can see why you would be frustrated, because this is the way that we've been talked to and talked about for years. Now, do I agree with it? Absolutely not, because the individuals that she's talking about, they don't have college degrees to understand what intersectionality is. They don't have college degrees to understand systemic racism and how those things show up in our games. So if you're going to be someone in this space, in the consulting space, and you're going to talk about these things, you need to think about the individuals that you're talking about. And at the same time, if you're not going to care about them, which is totally your right. I am not saying that you don't have the right to talk about those things. And I do find it interesting when people get upset that, they're talking about white men in games and they're saying racist stuff, but at the same time, out of their mouth, they'll say that I should have the right to be able to say things like spear chucker and do the things that I want to do. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. You cannot have your cake and eat it too, which is not the actual way that phrase is supposed to go, but it makes sense for what I'm talking about right now. And if you're going to call out that demographic, because it's so frustrating, because we know who they are. We know exactly who they are. Me and you right now could load up a game of Call of Duty and go online, and within 4 or 5 games, with them hearing your voice and hearing my voice, somebody's going to say something. They're going to say something about us being black. They're going to say something about me sounding gay whenever I talk. Like, it's going to happen. You cannot deny that those people exist. And when you call them by name, then people want to say that you're being racist. But I feel like if you're going to call them out and you're going to say the things that you're going to say, then you cannot make these videos, and you cannot make things complaining when they don't buy the game or if they don't want to play it. Like, I feel like that is only fair. It is okay to talk about those things, but I feel like at the same time, you can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't complain when that demographic doesn't come out and play for the game that you're looking for. So I hear what they're saying. I understand it. I just feel like if I were a consulting firm, you just have to take one of us has to be the adult. One of us has to be the adult, and you can't have a consulting firm and be out here talking about these things and using that sort of language, and then also want your games to do well and do good. So, like, I feel like they don't have a ground to stand on when they stoop that low and start having those kind of conversations like that. At the same time, I understand why they have them. Does that make sense? And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
If your entire basically job description could be your basically job relies on understanding behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It relies on understanding the nuance of human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
For you to go and not foresee a future in which your words get taken and turned into some bullshit is an oversight. I agree.
For sure.
Okay, right. I agree.
For sure.
Right.
You have to think about the context that you are having these conversations in. And if you're going to be a consulting firm, you need to understand the demographics of the people that you're consulting. I think that there are a lot of games, like Tales of Zarzal, that game, there are a lot of, if we're talking about white men, there are a lot of white men that can resonate with the idea of losing their father There's so many of them. There's so many white men that have lost their fathers that would have really connected deeply with that game. And I think it wasn't Tales of Zarzal's problem that it got that sort of rap. I think again it was those individuals that are just farming for content. But I just think that like I need to start a consulting firm because I know how you have to communicate. It reminds me of that one black guy that got those KKK members to like hang up their coats because he just hung out with them and was friends with them. So you cannot be, and this is to Sweet Baby Inc. You can get mad at me if you want, but you can't be a consulting firm and be out here doing it with that type of anger. It doesn't work. You need to take care of what you're mad about. You need to understand what you're in, and you need to be prepared to be nice, to be cordial, to be understanding, even in the face of extreme racism. You can't have that job and then say those sorts of things at the same time. It just doesn't work. You're no better than the people that you're talking about that are doing those things. That's just my opinion. Again, I could be wrong, and please correct me if I
will
am.
Say, I don't think that I would go as far as say that they're no better than them, right? I will say the people that's calling people spear chuckers. Okay. I would say,
all right, rein me in, coach. Rein me in, coach. Rein me in.
That entire situation, right? This is the perfect example. You could almost have a complete 100% point if literally they didn't just have this conversation,
right,
or this live where they literally called someone the most racist name for them possible. They kind of ruined it all, right? Because like if you had said this right before that, right, then they got some leverage, right? But now, since they said this, since they revealed that they are straight up being racist, her calling out the whining crybaby white man, which is closer to the exact quote that she said, not the exact quote, but about what she said.
Yeah, I take it.
They just proved it right there, right? They just shown the type of people who she's talking about who we no longer need to cater to.
I feel you. I feel you on that. I would also counter, and look at us having like respectful debate with each other on this topic. And let me just go ahead and say, because if this ever gets clipped, I'm not trying to defend white men right now, but I will just say, like, why would I put myself on this cross? But like, I will say, like, to your point, and those are I feel like that's what happens though, and why they end up saying things like that. I'm not saying she's just as bad as them. I think that those people are folks that need to be ignored. But I think the Sweet Baby Inc. and a lot of these other commenters, they have those men in mind when they're talking, instead of the person next to them who, again, might not call out the racism that they're seeing, but they feel it and they know that it's wrong. We have to stop giving a platform to, and giving a platform to someone isn't necessarily having them on your show. Giving them a platform is making videos. And I responded to Abu Bakr Salim on the internet where I was like, stop communicating with them. Stop. You're platforming this nonsense. You're not going to change their mind, you know? So I think we have to stop giving those men a platform. Yes, they exist. And you might call them out one time and say that we're not, but then let's move on to the people who, you want me to be for real, who the reason that you play as female characters in video games isn't just so that you can look at women's butts. There's a journey that you were going on, and this is the first stop. You know, like let's just be real about it, okay? A lot of the reason that some of them, it's the same men that are going to dress up as a women as a joke for Halloween this week. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to let them know, like, it's cool, dog. Some of us have been there before, you know?
It's not because you don't like looking at a dude.
Yeah, there's a deeper reason that you spend all that time in the character creator making her look gorgeous. Yeah, it's all good. It's fine. And then because then they have access, we can help them have access to that language, that just because you like those outfits, that doesn't mean that you're trans. That's what non-binary is. You can play
Yeah,
with, you know what I'm saying? Like, video games have the opportunity to help people express so much of themselves that they otherwise couldn't have if it, you know, in the society we live in. So those are the people that these consulting firms, not just, you know, trans people or gay, and not just people on that journey, but those men who know that this stuff is wrong, know that the way these people are talking is wrong, and would really enjoy the diverse stories. Think about them. But they also feel offended when you say straight white men. They also, and the reason I know this is because I've grown up in the South. I've grown up around racism. I've grown up around these people who, for example, if you're a car, if you were stuck on the side of the road, these folks will stop and help you change your tire, everything else, and tell you where to go to get something to eat. Now they'll call you the N-word under your breath, but like these people, like, they're capable of change. And I think that Sweet Baby Inc. and all these other people that are on these consulting teams, they need to stop talking as if people are incapable of change. And that's their own anger and frustration and resentment and stuff they need to deal with. But if you can't get up there and have that conversation without being angry and being frustrated and saying these remarks, what are you consulting for? You know?
yeah. I can definitely see. I mean, at the end of the day, right? I think we all can agree that it is not the most effective.
No, of course not. Yeah,
right. Like
of
without
course
a
not.
doubt, it's not the most effective way. They got loose. They got a little loose. And
Understandably so.
right, they definitely got a little loose. She was up there. She was talking. I also think that although it wasn't 100% effective, there will still be some people, no matter what,
For sure.
who will have taken anything that she said,
No matter what.
and and do it. The main example that I see is when people say they take that clip of her saying not to take no for an answer, and to terrorize them with the
With the
possibility of what
possibility of
can
what
happen
happens
in
if they
their life.
don't do it.
Um, a lot of them take that clip and they run with it, right? They say, "Yo, she's talking about terrorizing people." Most people, at least who, if you worked a retail job, if you've been in the job, you
Preach it. I know
understand
what you're about to say.
how this jargon works. When they say don't take no for an answer, they don't mean go to a customer and force them to say yes. They just mean have a mindset in which you really want to try and get it out. It's
And even,
weird language, but it's not that crazy. Go ahead.
even more than that, though, the people that she's talking about are the same gamers that I'm talking about we need to ignore. Those people are CEOs. They run boards. They are the ones that are the decision makers. So with them, you have to not take no for an answer, or nothing will ever change. And the only thing that gets those people to change is when you start affecting their bottom line. And the thing is, right now, it may not seem like there is enough gamers that care about this for it to affect their bottom line, but one day there will be. And so, like, I think that's really more of where she's coming from. Like, it's gonna, for example, with the hairstyles, like, I have the Killmonger cut. I wear it sometimes. I like it. I like it. It is the easiest way for me to style my hair as a black man that didn't really get along with the majority black community very well. It's very easy. All I have to do is let my dreads go. I get some gel, put it to the side, and I look good. I like it. And do you want your game to become because that's what destroys a game. They may not buy the game, but they will meme and talk the hell out of it. You might want to have more than one hair texture in your game, you know?
Right.
So, like, I feel like those are the sorts of things that she was talking about. But again, I understand the optics of it and the way that it looked.
Yeah. And it didn't help, right? Those people in the middle, or those people somewhere who kind of undecided, were absolutely destroyed by stuff like this. TJI, can we say terms like white is controversial because it generalizes? Generalizing is bad because when we use terms that encompass a whole group of people, that group will respond guilty or not. Kind of, sort of, not really. I mean, like, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, but like, in the context, this comes with like a little bit of media literacy here. I know people are kind of anti-media literacy now, which is crazy. But
super crazy.
If we're talking about something, we shouldn't have to say some every single time, right? Some white men, some black men, some gamers. You get that it's not every single one, you know what I'm saying, that we're talking about here. There is tons of cool everything's out there. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
or some of them are
this is the
bad.
black bean soup effect. They talk about this on TikTok. It's like if someone made a TikTok that said, okay, here are the ingredients for black bean
Yeah.
soup, and then
Yes.
someone leaves a comment that says, what if I don't like black beans? Don't
Yeah.
make the soup,
Don't
you
make
know?
this
But like
goddamn soup.
if you weren't on the out, and again, even the concept talking about generalizations, like I'm sorry, I'm somebody that has another business where I run ads. You can literally target people by generalizations. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just the world that we live in.
Yeah.
I can understand why some people would get upset using those generalizations, but if you understood and like again had some media literacy or some understanding of the world that you live in, when I hear women say things like all men are bad, does it frustrate me sometimes? Absolutely, it really does. I know I'm not perfect, but it does suck to be part of that demographic and then hear that all men are this, or you know, like we choose the bear. It's all men until it's no men. Like that is frustrating, but at the same time, I know myself enough to know that they're not talking to me. If the shoe doesn't fit, I'm not going to wear it. And I can also understand that, yeah, it does perpetuate a certain point of view. And there are people that are going to get upset about it. But I think the larger point is that, you know, you have conceded to JT without realizing it, is that why is that such a large part of your identity?
Yeah.
Why does that bother you so much? Why do you feel, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to ask yourself questions instead of immediately becoming angry about it.
You're not a part of that group.
Right.
You're an individual person.
If you had other parts of your identity outside of that were just as, if not more important to you, your ears wouldn't perk up when you hear those things.
Yeah, 100%. Sauda L says the amount of white men comfortable with saying that black men characters are woke in front of black gamers, it starts there. They need to be shut up right there. Yeah, but unfortunately, this isn't just the video game culture war doesn't have all white soldiers. It has some black soldiers.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Oh my God. Oh my God. For sure.
Right.
For sure.
And I think from what I've seen, because I get a lot of those comments too.
It has it's soldiers, it has gay soldiers, it has trans soldiers,
it has all of them are in there.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure.
I think their leading factor is games aren't as fun as they once were. I think from what I can tell, I think a lot of them are seeing that. First off, about specifically black dudes.
Yeah, I think we can speak to that. We can speak to that. I might be able to speak to the LGBTQ part just a little bit, being queer, but like, yeah, I can definitely speak. We put some intersectionality in here. I can definitely speak to the black men that doing this shit. Man. It's crazy, crazy.
Black.
Take your time, Pastor.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Okay,
take your time, Pastor.
There is a large group of black men who will side with their oppressors just so that they can oppress someone else. There's a large group of black men who will side with white
supremacy. Call it by its name. Call
white
it
supremacy.
By its name. Call it by its name.
I can't think of another word. Who will side with white
no nicer way to say it.
Just because they're homophobic.
Yep.
A lot of the
homophobia in our community. Oh my 100%. God, bro.
A lot of the black dudes literally just don't want to see a gay character
at all. And I would say it's worse. I'm sorry. I would say it's worse than white people sometimes. To be honest with you, I grew up in a church like that, man. And I'm sorry. Let me let you finish, boss. But yes,
that's
100%.
That's it.
100%.
They just don't want to do that. So they will side with going back to a time where every character was either Max Payne or Solid Snake, Soap. You know what I'm saying? They will side with that if that means they didn't have to see another gay character.
A gay character,
like,
for sure.
It really is that simple for a lot of black dudes. So they will side with them. They will talk about wokeness. They will talk about forced diversity. They will do anything that they got to do so that they don't see.
For sure.
For sure, in their video game,
100%. And so when and I think this brings up another really awesome point. It's like DEI, just that phrase, it means something different to every single person that is caught up in this anger spiral. For some people, DEI is just gay people being in games. For some people, DEI is trans people being in games. For some people, DEI, for some strange reason, is vitiligo. Like that's legitimately what it is, and it's terrifying. So yeah, it's not just white men. Like if that is if it seems like that is the point that's being made, then please let me go ahead and be the first to say that's not what it is. But it overall is
one
white
of the main
supremacy.
dudes, Grums, is an Asian man.
Yeah. Oh man. And I mean, again, I'm probably gonna get flack for this. I feel so bad for him because if you watch that video, like at one point he started talking about some of his experiences that he had being an Asian man, where people would drive by and say a racial slur, or people would ask him, "Do they have cars in your country?" And when he was sharing that, there were people in the live stream laughing. They were laughing. And again, it's just this idea of being closer to whiteness and white supremacy, these values that this country was built on. And so, like, I get it. It's safer. I used to be that way. There's some pictures of me before, and there's video of me now in the past where I said some things that were like, it really wasn't great. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Growth is important.
It wasn't okay. So like,
important.
yeah, growth is important, and I think that's what I mean when I was talking about SBI and those consulting firms. We have to leave room for some white men to grow. We have to leave room. And if we don't create room for them, like, it's just going to be an issue. And I think that's a really salient point.
Yeah. And for some people, DEI is their replacement for the N-word.
For sure. For sure. Straight up. It's the safest way to say it. It's the safest way to say it. Yeah. For
100%. And those people are going to do what they do as they have always done. Mm-hmm. And that's wear white hoods. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But DEI gaming, culture war, all that fun stuff. We're trying to create some dialogue. A lot of this conversation, because I want to go back to just talking about regular video games and fun stuff, like how I kind of wish stamina in video games wouldn't become such a prevalent feature. You know what I mean? I can't talk about that.
I mean, you couldn't, because I would be on the other side of that conversation with you. I'm sorry that you need to monitor what you're doing and you can't just mindlessly use resources. Can you run unlimitedly in your regular life? Can you outside of combat? Can you run regularly without getting fatigued? Do you
unless games to
you play games to escape all that political bullshit?
Politics in my video game.
But that should be the conversation. I don't want real world life mechanics in my. Let's talk like it's like they're right there. We're right on the cusp of what this would be a great. I know one thing you and I disagree on is cutscenes in video games. We could be having such amazing conversations about things if we weren't stuck on this.
Actually, right? Game stuff that can actually affect how we actually play games, affect our actual enjoyment.
What a great conversation that would be.
I would go crazy about how I skip all the cutscenes in the video game.
And I would tell and I would ask you, don't complain that games are $60 because you're missing out on 50% of it. Like, but the conversations write themselves, It would 100%. Be so good.
100%, right? I really wanted to be able to talk even about a Dustborn or about a Conqueror and talk about their specific mechanics that we disliked, specific things that they did that was trash or that was good, that was bad. We can't even have any nuance anymore. We can't even talk about a game that's not even out yet. We can't even talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Mm-hmm. We can't even talk about a Dragon Age Vanguard.
I'm scared for Mass Effect 5, bro. Like, really, if anything is going to push me to lose it, if they start talking about DEI and Mass Effect, when I remember when Mass Effect first came out and Fox News lost their mind because you could date the same character in the game and the sex scenes and things. Wow. And I remember seeing it on Fox News. Like, those games have always been inclusive, you know? So like, there are so many other, we can't even have discussions about things like that because they get caught up in this crap. Like, it's just crap. That's all that it is.
100%. I totally get that. I'm Latino, and Latino men will sooner side with white gamers just so they can oppress women. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Even gay gamers will tell me I'd escape the LGBT in games. That's a big thing, right? I don't want to see it in our video, which is so crazy to me when they do it. But that's just the beginning. We plan on having these conversations as every Sunday as we can get.
For sure.
I'm
We
gonna
need to clip them and we need to upload them to our
uh,
channels, and we need to have, we need to work on our production values because again,
100%.
we don't want that because they
They have backgrounds. We ain't got no
they got
background.
background music, they got soundboards and
We
everything, bro.
Yeah, we gonna step it up.
It's
But
lucrative, yeah,
for those that are here, TJI, Sauda, I know Leo was in here for a minute, Lou. All of y'all who was in here, you are here from the ground
for
floor.
sure, and we
You know what I'm saying?
appreciate it.
Trust
Yeah,
me, it's literally not going to get anything but better from here.
for
Right? The
sure.
Mindful Gamer is in the building. Make sure you check out their pages. What's their pages? What's your stuff?
Just the Mindful Gamer on
The Mindful
YouTube.
Gamer,
That's the
easy.
only one we're doing. Yep, the
Easy.
Mindful Gamer on
Mindful
YouTube.
Gamer anywhere. Just search it.
Mhm.
8-bit close fish. You see it here. Just search it. A lot of fun stuff. A lot of cool stuff. And again, we really want to up this production value just a little bit. We gotta get a background or something up in this.
Yeah, for
John.
sure. But hey, this is better than I think a lot of the times though, and I think that's another reason why there aren't a lot of people speaking out about this, because just by comparison, like the conversations we've had today, just the ones we've had previously have been excellent, like amazing. And just by comparison, because they are making so much money from, and it's so lucrative for them to be so hateful, like it is hard to like find the energy to, to spend the time to even do those things sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think even if it isn't, because this is how they started with their conversations, it was just like this. So even if it isn't beautiful or pretty or whatever it is that it needs to be just yet, we're going to find that format that's going to work for us. And I think it's really going to bring in a lot of people. And the most important thing is, at this point, it doesn't matter really how it looks. It's just, is it there? Is it consistent? And can people find it?
Right, 100%, 100%. And that's really the goal, is to be consistent. We want to keep pushing up stuff like this, so we can go back to just like exploring the hobby that we love, the hobby that we grew up on. So we can go back to having some good conversations, or so that the people who want to have these conversations have a space to do it. We're not having those conversations. We're having them right now. We just need to be able to reach you guys. And
For
talk
sure.
about them.
Yeah. I really think that stamina bar conversation, one day we just need to have it. Like, I feel you if it's a robot, okay? A robot maybe doesn't need a stamina bar. I mean, there has to be some.
Pick up a truck and throw it. I can jump from one building to the other. I think I can run for more than 5 seconds. Let me sprint. Please.
Unlimited. So in the universe you're in, the energy is just free. The law of thermodynamics just doesn't apply.
I mean, look, I can shoot fire out of my hand. Channel that. I'll put a skill point into it. That's cool.
Okay.
I'll put a skill point into it.
Okay.
Let me channel that fire into my legs so I can run significantly longer.
Oh man, that's funny. That's funny, bro.
This is going to 100% try to be a weekly thing. We're going to try our 100% best. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. This is a weekly thing. I will see you next Sunday. 100%.
Yeah, you will. I'll be back because I'm going to New York, but I'll be back at 10 and I'll be in here at 12, fresh from my trip from New York for sure.
100%. We will see you Sunday, even if we got to do it for a quick second on the phone. Wherever it is, we're going to make a commitment to each other, to y'all, to the gaming community, because this shit gotta happen.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. It really was. Just some of the things, and it's hard when you're doing it by yourself. I think that's the most difficult thing. Like, I don't think that these conversations and going up against these people, I don't think it's something that can be done individually. One, it's a lot harder to like dogpile on 2 people or 3 people or 4 people having a conversation than it is if just one person decides to kind of like take the lead on it. And 2, we don't have to break down these systems by ourselves. Like, we know that, like, I'm not trying to say we're in a war. I don't think we need to use that language, but I think we're in a conversation, and they may view the conversation as a war. Kind of like, I'm about to get real deep, but if you've ever seen the movie Arrival, whenever the aliens came and they were discussing with them, like one country decided to use mahjong, which is a game of battle, and other people, were using all these like chess and things like that to communicate. And like in those situations, like there has to be a winner and has to be a loser. This conversation doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. We can just have a discussion with each other. And like, that's what I'm really hoping for, to get questions like JT, who brought up, you know, saying white, that's obviously going to alienate people. There's a point to that. Absolutely. I think that there's a time and a place for that sort of discussion and conversation. And you can't hold people to a standard that they can't comprehend. And I just don't think those individuals are at a standard where they can comprehend that high level discussion, because if they were, they wouldn't be so easily taken by that anti-wokeness conversation stuff in the first place.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We'll see you guys next time. I gotta get ready to head on up out of here. Looking forward to your Dragon Age takes. We're gonna have them. Hopefully, whoever that is, BioWare, stop playing. Send us some review copies
For
so
sure.
we can really talk about it for real.
Talk about the game, and more than just, you know, whether or not it's woke or not. And yeah,
right,
for sure.
But yeah, see you guys. See you all next week. Follow the Mindful Gamer. Follow 8-Bit Closed Fist, and tap in. You know what I'm saying? We will be here 100%. Peace.
All right. See you.